Alright, what's going on everybody? Mini Machu here and I'm back with another video because the UFC just made some announcements as of yesterday. In case you didn't know, April 1st, the UFC tweeted out that Dana White was going to be going live with some announcements. And when the UFC makes an announcement to their announcement, I get a little bit excited. And I was refreshing my feed all day waiting to see what's going to happen. Is it finally going to be John Jones versus Tom Aspinall or Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria? Having the announcement to the announcement, that's like saying lights, camera, action in 3, 2, 1, go. Seeing something like that really built up my anticipation levels to something that they hadn't been since they were releasing all the fight announcements for UFC 300. So this got me excited and I'm refreshing my feed all day waiting to see what they're finally going to announce. And then I'm at the gym hitting the weights with my buddies and they finally released the announcement. Merab versus Sean O'Malley 2. I packed it up and I left. It killed my whole vibe for the workout. Sean O'Malley receiving this opportunity to fight for the belt for a second time after doing basically nothing, sitting out for almost a year, is so much disrespect and a slap in the face to every other fighter in that division. And basically like a slap in the face to the fans. It's not the best fighting the best anymore, it's money fights like this. Sean O'Malley's getting shoved down our throats. In his whole career, Sean O'Malley has 2 wins that have been keeping him in title contention or at the top of the division for so long. And how's he the #1 contender off of these wins? According to the judges, Sean O'Malley beat Petr Yan just slightly. Whether or not, however you score that fight, it could have gone either way to be honest. But he beat Petr Yan and then knocked out Aljamain Sterling. Those are his 2 wins. Petr Yan was a former champion, Aljamain Sterling was the current champion, so good wins. And to be completely honest, I forgot about his fight with Chito Vera the second time. So that one's a good win, but not on the same level as the other 2. Definitely not a title defense or fight performance worthy of receiving unlimited title shots though. I think if Sean O'Malley was matched up with literally anyone else in the top 5, it would have been completely fine with the fans and probably would have been more exciting matchups for us to watch. You could have given Sean like a tune-up fight, almost kinda. I wouldn't say it's a tune-up fight, but a good stylistic matchup compared to fighting Merab. You could have had Sean O'Malley fight almost his mirror image in Corey Sandhagen. It would have been an awesome striking fight that I think anyone would want to see and get excited for. You could have had him fight Umar Nurmagomedov as Conor McGregor's #1 fan versus the next Nurmagomedov to be a champion. That's probably how Sean would build the fight, but I could see the UFC waiting to match those 2 together until they're both finding themselves in the title fight against each other. Or the Petr Yan rematch. I think that's probably the fight that I've been wanting to see the most, but a 5-round fight. Their first fight was one of the best fights that I saw that year of 2022, I believe. It was back and forth. It was a slugfest. Who wouldn't want to see that rematch? It was very competitive, and there's no doubt in my mind that the second fight, if that rematch ever were to happen, would be just as good, if not better, especially over the course of 5 rounds. It just seems like one of those incomplete fights, kind of like Charles versus Arman at UFC 300. And unlike Sean O'Malley, Petr Yan is currently on a 2-fight win streak. Even though Petr Yan lost, I think, worse to Merab, I think that he deserves the fight or a rematch with Merab much more than Sean O'Malley, who did nothing. This is why I'm kind of falling in and out of love with the sport, is because Sean O'Malley is getting the title shot over other deserving contenders after fighting low-level competition for most of his career and getting, I don't want to say lucky, but he was very fortunate in the way that the Petr Yan fight played out to give him these title shots. And then the UFC kind of helped Sean O'Malley beat Aljamain Sterling in a sense because they made Aljamain turn around from that Henry Cejudo fight so quickly despite having injuries. Or they were going to keep him on the sidelines for a very long time, not knowing when his next fight would be. So he took that O'Malley fight and ended up getting knocked out. It might have happened regardless, who knows. It was kind of shady tactics there. But speaking of Aljamain, you remember how Aljamain complained that he had all these injuries going into the O'Malley fight and that's what caused him to lose? And everyone blasted him and they're still blasting him for just even talking about the fight like that instead of manning up and owning that he just lost that night. Sean O'Malley's doing the exact same thing that Aljamain was. Sean O'Malley talks going into the first Merab fight with the groin injury. Quote, "I'm going to be 70% better than I was in that first fight. I'm going to be significantly more mobile, agile, and better shape. I'm going to fight at my full potential." Whether or not the Elder Kai releases full potential or whatever, there's no way that his style is going to be able to beat Merab's. I mean, if Umar can't keep up with Merab, then what makes Sean O'Malley going to be able to do that? I think that Sean only has like 1 to 2 rounds to beat Merab. Could he catch Merab coming in? Yes, absolutely. It wouldn't surprise me if it happened, but I think the likelihood of it actually occurring would be very low. And that's another factor why I hate this fight announcement, is because the buildup is going to be Sean could knock out Merab. That's not a good basis for making a fight that a fighter has a possibility to win by knockout because he's got punching power. It's just lame. Merab's just going to do what he always does, and that's push forward, wear you down. And I think that after a couple of rounds, Sean's legs are probably going to be dead. I think that it'll definitely be a closer fight because Sean hasn't fought many contenders, and fighting Merab is definitely going to help him improve. I don't think that Sean's hit his prime yet, but who's to say that his prime is going to be good enough to fight these guys? or beat these guys. Hell, I wouldn't even given him Figgy. That would have been a cool fight. Two exciting, explosive former champions going at it would have been a cool story. The one thing that I could say about this rematch is that there isn't that many options for Merab to compete against. He's already beaten most of the top 5. He's beaten Sean, Piotr, Umar, and Corey and Figgy definitely don't deserve the title fight. But neither does Sean. It should have been Piotr Jan, as he's the only one in the top 5 coming off of victories. Alright, do me a favor. Imagine that you're Josh Emmett, and you just knocked out Bryce Mitchell, the second coming of Hitler, and your knockout's all over Twitter and TikTok months after it happened because of what Bryce Mitchell said about himself hanging out with Hitler. What incentive is there to go out there, knock out your opponent in like 2 minutes into the first round, make them literally convulse as they're unconscious? What incentive is there to go out there and keep doing that if you're gonna just get thrown into these apex fights on these lackluster cards, fighting further down the rankings when someone like Sean O'Malley, who is getting these unlimited title shots for just dyeing his hair and renting these Lamborghinis with these pink colors? Why would you actually go out there and fight? As long as you're in the rankings and you have a YouTube channel and you wear sunglasses inside, you're going to get the title shot. I can already tell you how the fight buildup is going to be for Sean versus Merab 2. At the pre-fight press conference, Sean O'Malley is going to come out and he's going to be wearing a pink or a white suit and it's going to be unbuttoned and his bare chest and belly is going to be out. And he's going to be like, Merab, you got a size 6 shoe, you're 5'6", be quiet, I'm 5'10 and a half. But look at my hair, it's a different color this time too. And then they're going to fight and then it'll go to a decision. And then Sean O'Malley will be like, I was injured. Blah, 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 blah. It'll be a waste of a fight and everyone's time unless Sean O'Malley does something crazy. Because the expectation is for Merab to go in there and destroy Sean again. And then Dana White also announced that Juliana Pena will be defending her belt against Kayla Harrison, which, it's not a bad fight. It needed to happen for that division. Kayla Harrison's definitely the most deserving out of all the contenders, and Juliana Pena, I don't know about her as a champion. I think that she's going to get whooped by Kayla Harrison. Nah, I wouldn't say whooped. I think that it'll be a good fight for as long as it lasts. I don't think that it'll go to a decision, to be honest. Pena is a dog. She'll just try and walk you down with that terrible striking, and Kayla Harrison doesn't have that great of striking either. So it should be a good matchup. I think it'll be a sloppy fight as long as it's standing, but the two of them on the ground are pretty elite. So not a bad fight. And for the third announcement that the UFC made, for Ian Gary versus Carlos Prates, I'm actually excited for that. Very happy with that. Compared to how I looked at Sean O'Malley getting his title shot against Merab, I think that Ian Gary's actually being a fighter. Say what you want about Ian Gary and his wag wife or whatever they like calling her and their lifestyle. He's a fighter. He took the Shavkat Rakhmonov fight on like 21 days notice. He's fighting Carlos Prates on 25 days notice. Down the rankings. In all honesty, Ian Gary should be fighting someone higher in the rankings. Maybe even higher than him because of how close his fight with Shavkat was. I mean, he lost 1 round to the number 2 contender. And he decides to go fight number 13 in the main event. He's not looking for an easy road to the title. He's fighting whatever the UFC offers him on short notice, whoever it may be, against dangerous people. Shavkat had a 100% finish rate going into that Ian Gary fight, and Ian Gary lived, almost won. That fight against Shavkat Rakhmonov must have given Ian Gary so much confidence to fight a guy who's on an 11-fight win streak, 10 fights in a row via knockout. Hopefully Ian Gary doesn't come in overconfident, but I think that Carlos Prates versus Ian Gary is a fantastic matchup. 2 lanky strikers. One of them always getting a knockout, and the other being a technical striker with some flashiness to him. I don't know how this fight would go because we haven't seen Carlos Prates go up against truly elite competition. His best win so far has been Neil Magny, but in the competition that he has faced, he's made it look incredibly easy. So respect to Ian Gary. Disrespect to Sean O'Malley for getting that title shot. Ian Gary deserved better. Not to say Carlos Prates isn't good, but if I was Ian Gary, I'd be trying to fight like Joaquin Buckley or something, you know? So yeah, I kind of got trolled by the UFC yesterday. I thought it was going to be Tom Aspinall versus John Jones or Islam versus Topuria, and they said April Fools, haha, it's Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. UFC 317 in Newark, New Jersey, live at the Prudential Center. Or something like that. The sport is slowly morphing into how boxing is, just with much less money for these fighters. Why would you go for a knockout if you could just rent a Lamborghini and make yourself to look like a superstar? Let me know if you agree with my takes or not. I hope that Merab wins. You know, at least Merab is a fighting champion. He'll fight whoever the UFC gives him. And there wasn't that many options for Merab. They could have given him the Piotr Jan rematch, but it wouldn't be as big as the Sean O'Malley rematch, I guess. I think that Piotr Jan deserved it more. The wild card pick would have been Pantoja versus Merab, but I think that Merab would have just Merabbed Pantoja and thrown him around the ring. Or the octagon, I mean. Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison is what needed to happen next in the title picture for the UFC Bantamweight division. And then Ian Gary, big ups, big respect to him. Fighting the fighting nerds, 170-pound version of them, Carlos Prates. That should be an excellent fight as well. Very excited for that one. But my interest levels for Merab versus Sean is very, very low. I'd rather not get an announcement to the announcement for something like this. They could have just released it and I think it would have been better. Building my anticipation up like that just to throw me a fight that I don't want to see again is a little bit insulting, but whatever. Let me know if you all agree with my takes, if whether or not this is the most undeserving title shot of all time. I don't know about that, but in recent memory, I would say this is definitely up there. I'm a little bit disappointed as a fan, to be honest. So with that, I'll catch you all later whenever the next episode is out. Peace out.